Hi man, here I am with your animation. It's looking really good. I noticed that you have a few knee pops, and you asked if the leg needed to be straight before the contact pose. It depends. It depends. In some characters, you might want the leg to be almost straight before the contact pose. Some other times don't. It really depends on the character and the ability you have to make the leg straight. Ideally, yes, you want the pose just before the straight pose, the straight leg. Ideally, you will want to have it as straight as possible without being straight, but yeah, like with a very slight bend to avoid knee pops. This way, it when it straightens, it really is really subtle. It doesn't go from a huge bend to a straight. So always when the leg goes from straight to bend and from bend to straight, you will want to make the transition as subtle as possible. So generally you want the frames before and after to have very small ease into that process so that it's more fluid. But apart from that, I see that you have a few knee pops. Well, I'm gonna start. Well, firstly, as you can see, I draw some things. So here, notice how the back leg, notice how the back leg is bending. So the bend is more pronounced, bigger bend. So it's getting more and more pronounced, the bend, like it's going from straight to more bend. Great. But then see how in this moment, in this transition, the leg straightens. And this is an issue regarding how much you are lifting the foot, and also the knees, the hips are rotating and everything. And that's an issue because it feels odd, because when the leg starts to bend here, it should keep bending. See how it bends, then straightens, then it bends again. So this pose, make sure that let's see how you fix it. Well, the hips seem nice. Oh, I just noticed a major issue. Okay, so this is the hips. Although it also acts as the head, is the hips. So the hips on a walk cycle should be moving on a fully even transition. Every frame has the same amount of space. Although I'm not drawing it properly, but you see what I mean. Every spacing has the same amount of spacing every single frame. So you have to keep that in mind. You can have ups and downs, but the lateral movement has to be always even, because that's how the hips move when you walk. And these act as the hips, although it also act as the head leg technically, but for the purpose of the animation, they act as the hips. So you have to make sure they always move with an even spacing. So even spacing, even spacing, even spacing, see here how the spacing, boom, increases a lot, drastically here. And then it reduces a lot, then increases again. See, boom, boom, boom. A lot of spacing, small spacing, a lot of spacing, normal spacing, normal spacing, boom, a lot of spacing, small spacing, small spacing, small spacing, a lot of space. See, and you have to fix that. So before doing anything else, make sure that you take the control of the ball, then designates the lateral movement, and even out the curve. You will have to make a complete straight line on the graph editor, whether it moves down or up. I don't know which direction the curves takes to move to that side of the screen, but basically a complete straight line you want. Okay, so that's the third thing that also would smooth out the animation. Okay, so then, as I said, the leg here. So maybe what you want to do is here keep raising the feet a bit more, so you can start to lift the feet more so that the knee goes forward. The knee goes forward a bit more. The tip of the feet would be still on the floor, and maybe something like that, so that we see the knee keep moving forward, and the leg keeps bending, so we don't have that much of a difference from this to this also. Because see, also the knee, you have to keep in mind that the knee also can move and have its variation in spacing. You want to keep it smooth, the movement of the knee. So see how it moves to the left, so moves to the left, to the left, to the left. Here you see how the knee, sorry. See here you see how the knee doesn't practically move to the left, and then boom, moves a lot to the left. So that's also an issue that makes the animation a bit more dirty. So ideally, you want the knee to have its ins, its outs, but keep moving to the left. Make it a bit more smooth, the speeds and fluctuations. So in this case, if you keep bending the knee, then you will have the knee more or less here, and then the transition from this pose to this pose would be a more normal spacing. So that would fix quite a lot of things, because this would be also fix this. This is an issue as well. You have that the foot go from completely planted on the tiptoe to boom, completely raised. So it's feels like pop when the feet raise from the floor. Feel like pop. You see how the pop, 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 pop. The feet raise from the floor like popping. They don't feel natural, like peeling off the floor. They feel like when they lift off, boom, 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 boom. So that's one of the things here. So you want to have maybe in between pose where the foot is not that much, is not lifted that much. So, and this pose that I'm drawing is this. You want to have it here. So that would fix the knee moving, the knee popping, and the foot popping, because you will have a intermediate pose of the foot that would move the knee forward. That would fix everything. So basically here, just change the pose of the foot to this pose, and that would fix pretty much everything in this case. Then be careful here. I see that I think you are lifting the body quite a lot in here, because see how you can see how the leg is stretching and shrinking here. See the knee, how it's stretching and shrinking. So I know that you have the intermediate pose, then the high pose, but maybe don't make the high pose as high. Just make it more subtle, because here is quite high. You see how you have the extreme here, and then you have like it's going up quite a bit. Well, by my drawing doesn't seem so, but this is the top. See, it's going high quite a bit, and doesn't need to be that much in this case, also because you are stretching quite a bit the leg, and you can see it. And also be careful here. Ideally, if you can reduce this amount of bend, because as I said before, when the leg goes from straight to bend, you want to have it as subtle as possible so that don't feel like pop. So maybe you ideally want to have this frame where the leg is barely bending, starting to bend, very, very barely. Just take it out of the straight leg so that the transition eases out from the straight leg. What did I draw here? Oh, that was the straight leg question. Then another thing here, as the weight starts to be planted on this leg, see how you also have from straight to bend in one frame, and it feels also a bit abrupt because it's not a jump. If they was jumping and falling down, boom, then this amount of going from straight to bend, it would be great. But if it's a walk, it feels quite boom, boom, feels like too abrupt. Maybe if the character had a lot of weight, maybe you want to exaggerate that boom impact and bend on the leg. But in this case, it feels quite abrupt. So ideally, in this frame, you want to have it start to bend the leg. So we can see how the leg starts to bend and then the transition. So in this case, yeah, basically, how would you do this? Let me see. What could you do here? Yeah, maybe try just playing with the height of the character, maybe lowering him a bit more so that the leg is bent in this moment, a bit more bent, so that, or maybe just adjusting the knee control and faking the bend of the leg. Maybe you could do that, but just try to start bending the leg in this frame so that it's a bit more progressive, the transition. Also here, be careful. See how in this one was quite nice. See how it goes from bend to straight, how the knee stays, how the knee is fluid, the motion of the knee. See, the knee is not popping, it stays more or less in the same place when going to straight. But here, boom, you see how it goes from here to here. So that feels like a huge pop. So how do you fix that? Well, see how here you had it forward and then it's just going down the knee pretty much. Then here, boom, it's too forward the knee, so it's going back in this pose. So how do you fix that? If you move the feet forward in this frame, you will basically straighten a bit more the leg, and then the knee will go back. If you make the knee straight the leg and make the knee go back a little bit, you can keep a bit the bend, but straighten the leg a bit more. Then when it goes to from here to this pose, it just goes down and maybe just a little bit to the left. However, but you don't have that much of a movement from bend to straight in one frame, because this quite feels like a pop. Then, same as before, if you could make this pose so that the leg starts to bend a little bit. Then same here, you see how the leg goes from almost straight to a huge bend. Boom, so it feels like a pop. So that you would fix that by raising much more the foot up to this pose so that you don't have that much of a pop also, because this also feels like a pop. So if you make this pose a bit more exaggerated so that the foot is already more lifted, that would fix everything that you have going on, the pop on the knee and the pop on the foot. Then again here, you want to lift the character a bit more, because see how, because you're not lifting the character much in this pose, the knee, this knee is bending and it's going quite a lot to the left, and therefore when it straightens it goes back. See how the back knee, boom, the back knee, boom, pops back, and this is because the character is not moving up, hasn't got up much in this pose, so that boom, then pops back to a straight pose. So if you make the character up a little more, then the back leg would be much more straight in this pose, and then in this pose the knee would not pop back. It would stay more or less on the same place. It would just straighten but wouldn't pop back. Then same here, be careful with the pop. And how you fix that? Well, mainly see how the back foot is completely frozen here. So you will fix that by keep raising the back foot so that we can start to see the bend just a little bit on the back leg. And so from this pose to this one is a more smooth transition. You have the ease out from the straight leg, and same issue here with the knee and the foot. I'm not going to explain it again, but yeah, you know what I mean, creating the smooth transition. Same here, see how the knee pops back. You want to have the foot a bit more forward so that the knee is back here, and then when it goes to the straight pose, it's just going down, it's not moving that much, it's not popping back mainly. That's what you don't want. You don't want the knee popping back. And that's it. That was my feedback for this animation. I mean, the motion, the inertia, the rotation of the character feels really nice. I mean, if I don't look at the legs and I just look at the rotations of the character and the inertia of the feeling of the walk, it feels really nice. It's just a few things that need to be polished, the pops and the fluid movement of the body, to the forward movement. But other than that, great job. I know that the walk cycles, when you start getting into walk cycles, is tricky because you have to keep in mind a lot of things. You have to manage a lot of things, and if you adjust one thing, you're breaking the other thing. So it's just a very complicated and subtle adjustment of many things to just make it work at the end. But yeah, it's a lot of work to polish one thing without breaking the other, and yeah, it can be hard, but I mean, you are doing it, so keep up the great work, and until the next time.